there's going to be times in life where you screw up, and those things may affect yourself personally, but it also may affect those around you. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about, kind of accepting the blame when you deserve it, and some things you can do to kind of move beyond those mistakes. And this is really one of the hallmarks of someone that's really emotionally mature, is really their ability to accept the blame when they deserve it. So some things that you can do to kind of move beyond that is first, you really need to recognize uh, that you did make a mistake. You really can't possibly begin to accept the blame until you recognize that you did something wrong. So you need to take some time and to consider basically how your actions affected yourself and potentially the people around you. Uh, you really want to reflect and really try to think of ways to avoid making the same mistake in the future. Now, to move past that is essential. One of the things you can do is stop hesitating. So once you've know you've made a mistake, it's really time to own it. It makes sense to reflect on your actions first, but it's important to address the situation really in a timely fashion once you've reflected on it and owned the mistake. So the reality is, the longer you wait, the more awkward things will get, and the less gracious your acceptance will be. And so, really, if you've wronged other people and you own that, then you need to make amends sooner than later. You know, Along those lines is really addressing the aggrieved party directly. So if someone else is negatively affected by your actions or mistake, you really need to address them directly. Don't pass on a message through someone else. Don't post some cryptic message on social media. You really just need to talk to that individual and really, at the very least, you really owe them a direct response. Another thing is really don't beat around the bush. When it's time to accept the blame, make sure you don't waste a bunch of time skirting this issue. People usually do this because they're nervous or they're trying to seem less responsible for the issue. And this really comes off as weak and sneaky. So really you need to directly identify what you did and why you're taking the blame. Another thing is don't try to shift the blame. If you know you messed up, you need to accept the blame fully. And this really means don't try to blame other people or circumstances for your actions. Really, no matter what outside influences may have contributed to your action, you really need to take the blame without trying to pass the buck. Another thing you need to do to move past this is really offer a sincere apology or explanation. So if your mistake hurts someone else, you really should be prepared to offer a sincere apology. And remember, you shouldn't use an apology or explanation to shift the blame. The apology should be heartfelt and thoughtful, and really, an explanation should really only be offered if requested. Another thing is to really volunteer to help solve the problem. So once you've accepted the blame, you should also offer some sort of solution. Now, if you can't think of a specific solution, then offer to help find one. The last thing you want to do is wait until someone else asks for the solution. You really need to take the initiative and offer a solution or the help to develop a solution. Another thing is really, accept the consequences and accept them graciously. So sometimes things are out of your control, but if you've wronged someone else or someone that's close to you, you're going to risk damaging the relationship. If you made a mistake with your finances, you might cost yourself money. Really, whatever action you have to take, you know, for the blame, there's going to be consequences that are out of your control. But you need to accept these consequences and then really move forward, kind of make a plan on how you're going to move forward. Another thing that's helpful is to really reflect on your actions. So once you've properly taken responsibility and accepted the consequences, really take some time to reflect on the situation. Try to pinpoint a couple of lessons you've learned and think about how you can avoid similar situations in the future. And then, really finally, you need to forgive yourself and move on. So what are some action steps you can do? Well, the first thing you can do is really think about a recent mistake or argument or misunderstanding you've had recently. And, you know, where's the blame? And if the blame lies in yourself, this can be tough to admit. So you really have to think through this carefully and thoughtfully. But the reality of it is if you identify that your actions have negatively impacted yourself or someone else, You need to own it. And really, along those lines, is once you own it, then you really need to address the situation. You accept the blame, but you need to address what you're going to do to move past that. Like, so I've said, if you've wronged someone else, how are you going to make amends? What are you going to do to correct it? How are you going to offer that apology? So the reality of it is, as we go through life, we're going to screw up. And there's times that the screw up that we do is our own fault. And so it's essential that we have tools and techniques to get beyond that. So reflect, identify what you've done to wrong yourself or others, and then move forward. But again, an important thing to remember is really, uh, be willing to forgive yourself and move on. So hopefully this helps. If there's anything you need from us, just let us know. Thanks.